Hi, welcome to the first video on membrane transport as part of the membrane transport lesson. I'm Tom Shannon. I'm the physiology discipline director in the host defense block. You guys probably haven't seen much of me yet, but by the time you're done with your first year, and certainly by the time you're done with your second year, you're going to be very well sick and tired of me because you're going to see me a lot after this block. In the meantime, we do have a couple things in terms of the physiology of the human body in this block, and this is the first thing that we want to cover. And there is a related computer workshop which is not required for you guys to come to, but I would strongly encourage you to come to it. Most students find that these computer workshops are helpful. This one's okay. The ones in the next block are going to be pretty essential. Again, Tom Shannon, this is my email address. I would strongly encourage you to contact me with questions. I'm here for you, and I'd much rather, I'd much rather have you asking questions now than get comments at the end of the block like I never understood his material. I do my best to make myself available for you guys so that, if you're having a hard time in the block and you're having a hard time with this material, please come and see me. My office hours are here 11 to 12 and 1 to 2 on Mondays. This should allow the afternoon group to come. This should allow the morning group to come and see me if you wish. I know these are CBCL days for you guys. In the next block, I will change this to Tuesdays, which will be clinical skills days, which should be a little bit easier on you. But for right now, I'm very, very deeply involved with the M2s, and Mondays are better for them, and that's why the office hours are Mondays for this host defense block. I'm also available from 10 a.m. to noon on Saturday. If you want to come on campus and see me in person, that's always best. I will be in a room on campus. I'll contact you guys via email and let you know what room that is. As of this recording, I don't know which one it's going to be, but I will be happy to be available for you at that room, and I'll let you know. The other way to contact me if you don't want to come in on a Saturday, I get it, you can go to this Appearing link, and if you give it permission to use your mic, you can talk to me, give it permission to use your camera. You can see me, and you can see me regardless, and I can see you as well. I can share my desktop. I can answer questions for you. I can flash up slides. This is a reasonable way to communicate if you don't want to make the trip in. I get it. Of course, you don't have to come during office hours, or especially you don't have to come on Saturdays. You can just make an appointment with me. Just email me with 2 or 3 times in your order of preference, and I'll give you the first one that I have open. The other thing I want to mention is this video and the subsequent videos come with a set of notes, text. And I wrote the text with the idea that you could follow along and go from figure to figure and literally just write notes in the text. And where you wished, a lot of times you wouldn't have to, because pretty much everything you need to know is in these notes. Having said that, you don't have to do it that way. You can just read the notes. That's perfectly fine. Everything you need to know is in there. Or if you want to just watch the videos and take notes on the slides, I've made the slides available for you. You can take notes on the slides, and that would be fine as well. You don't have to pay any attention to the notes if you don't want. You don't have to pay any attention to the videos if you don't want. The two kind of go together, and they should both have, they do both have all the essential information for you, okay? So either one alone is fine if that's what you wish, okay? Whatever way you want to work is fine with me, all right? All right, having said that, let's go ahead and start with the lecture. I'm going to start with some general comments about membrane function and transport, nothing too complicated. This figure is not in the notes. You don't need it. It's just decoration because I didn't want to just throw up a text slide. Let's talk a little bit about the functions that the membrane serves in the body, sort of like starting at the beginning. And the first function, and frankly the primary function, is just to separate compartments. And in particular, separate compartments that have different concentrations of different materials that have to be maintained. So for instance, if we take a look at this table, you can see that on the outside of the cell we have concentrations of various ions here. And those concentrations are different from the concentrations inside the cell. High sodium on the outside, low sodium on the inside, low potassium on the outside, high potassium on the inside. Okay, and having these concentration differences and maintaining them is very important, and that is one of the primary functions of the membrane. So not surprising, another primary function is going to be transport. Membrane transport, which is really the focus of this lesson, is the process by which you transport substances across that membrane from one compartment to another. And related to that is these transporters are largely tasked with maintaining concentration differences on one side of on one side of the cell or the other, depending upon what that substance is. But certainly you need transport to get things across this membrane from one compartment to another. Similarly, the membrane is intimately involved in in communication between cells, and that can happen through gap junctions, which are channels which connect cells, transmitters, neurotransmitters in particular, which are released and mediate communication between cells. Related to that are receptors, which bind ligands, which are released from one cell type and bind to another cell type, and that is a form of communication. You have synaptic transmitter, which is related to the existence of transmitters. Okay? And lastly, one major function for the membrane, this is where excitability is mediated. So if you have excitable cells, that means that these cells have action potentials or transient changes in membrane potentials that spread or propagate. And as they spread or propagate, they allow communication to take place within a cell and from cell to cell. Okay, so excitable cells tend to throw these action potentials, and the action potentials tend to mediate changes which effectively are a form of communication. Related to that are synaptic junctions, where particularly you can have neurons that synapse onto a cell type like another neuron or a muscle cell, and these mediate communication where you're releasing one neurotransmitter and it's binding to a receptor from one cell, it's binding to a receptor on another cell. And what that does is it mediates communication from the first cell to the second cell and initiates a response in the second cell. And we'll talk a lot more about that in the next block and in subsequent blocks to come. The bottom line, and the reason why I'm giving this lesson and this talk, and the reason why you're learning this, membranes are where a lot of the drugs that you're going to be operating with as a physician, this is where they operate. Mechanistically, this is where it starts. So understanding membrane function is going to be a big part of understanding how these drugs work and how they have their effects. Okay, so I'm going to cut this video off here, and in the next video I'm going to talk about movement of solutes and sort of pick up on how that happens, particularly focusing upon diffusion. Thank you for your attention.